Join me inside my writing yurt. Come on. Our next question comes from Pretty M. And the question is this: children always have problems with spelling. What is the best way to teach them spelling? Now, I think that this is a wonderful question. And it's wonderful particularly because spelling is such a strange thing in English. Words often sound quite differently from how they're spelt. And this can be totally baffling to students. And so, what I wanted to do was to talk through the principles that we use at Cozy Grammar to talk about, or rather, to teach spelling in a way that we think is not only fun and interesting, but also natural in the sense that it naturally it works on principles of learning and how we actually learn things in the world. So these are the principles that we use in the free Cozy Spelling course. First, listen. The beginning of good spelling, paradoxically, lies in listening. Now, this may seem a bit strange because, as I just said, English is a very peculiar language. Words do not always sound the way they're spelled. So, for example, there is a pair of words that is often very confusing to students. Take the word knee. If you are hearing this word for the first time, how might you spell it? You might put N I, for instance, or maybe N E. But would you put K N E E? Seems very strange. Actually, there is a reason for this strangeness. And the reason is this: there was a period in English when words were spelt much more closely to the way they were pronounced. So the word we now say or pronounce as a knee used to be pronounced canay. So it did have a K sound and an N sound and two E's, canay. But then something happened that the linguists call the great vowel shift, and words shifted in their pronunciation, as words often shift in our day-to-day talking, our day-to-day use of language. And so canay became knee, but the spelling remained the same, Knee. This is the same thing that happened with the word knight. Again, if you wanted to spell the word knight as in like a knight in shining armor, you might say maybe N-I-T, knight, or maybe N-A-I-T, or something like that. But knight used to be pronounced Knicht. Now you can understand why knight is spelled K-N-I-G-H-T, because it used to be said K-N-I-G-H-T, Knicht. Knowing some of this history can be very helpful for demystifying the spelling of English. Now, you may wonder if words sound sometimes so differently from how they're spelled, why should we spend any time on that? Shouldn't we just be drilling the correct spelling into our minds? Well, that's a natural and a very good question. However, uh, the way that I understand our minds to work and the way that I understand learning to work most naturally and most lastingly is when we simply allow ourselves to become aware of those differences. We notice, oh, knee and night are spelt knicht and kane. Um, and that, even noticing that, teaches our mind something about, oh, yeah, when I hear the word knee, I write kane. When I hear the word night, I write knicht. And now we have a tool, we have a mental tool, if you will, for getting the correct spelling of those words. So, to back up, the first principle in the free cozy spelling course is to listen to the words, but that's the beginning, because the next step is then to look at the words and to notice when are the words different uh, in their pronunciation than how they seem to appear on the page. And as we become more aware of which words sound the way they're spelt and which words sound differently from the way they're spelt, the more our spelling naturally improves because spelling and correct spelling is simply the result of spending some time looking at the words and listening to the words. I'll give you another a little tip that you can use for remembering the spellings of words. I gave you the example of kne and knicht, knee and night. Here's another one: fragile. If something is easily broken, we say it's fragile. Now, fragile has an ILE at the end of it. And sometimes people looking at that might say, well, why isn't it pronounced fragile? Why do we say fragile? Why do we toss off this E? Now, one way to answer that question would be to say there's a long history and things have changed, and that's an important thing. But as far as the practice of spelling is concerned, we can embrace the fact that it looks like it's spelled fragile. Okay, it looks like it's spelled fragile. How do you spell fragile? And you spell it out. And the convention in English is to say fragile. But now we've connected the idea of, which is also the picture of, fragile with the word fragile. This creates a little internal story, if you will, a mnemonic device. It would be the fancy word or term for such a thing, which allows a person to easily remember, oh yeah, fragile, that's easy. You just write fragile. Oh, night, that's easy. You just write knicht. And you can do this with any word that gives you trouble. And you will find that you will remember that word for the rest of your life. That's how our minds work. Our minds work by creating associations between things. And that's why the free Cozy Spelling course works by creating associations between things. First, between the way that words sound and between the way that they look. And then the third step, which is to write the word, to bring that uh, awareness of the word that we've taken in through the ear and we've allowed to register visually through our eyes and put it into our hands, into our body, that tactile part of it. It might be typing, it might be writing it out by hand. Marie would recommend writing it out by hand, and I would actually second that. I think writing by hand can be a very useful practice. But however you write it and you use it, and you're actually strengthening a connection between your ear and your eye and your body, your expressive capacity in your hands. That's what spelling is really all about. Learning is the process of making connections, and the more concretely we make these connections, the better. And of course, there's one more tip I wanted to share with you, which is that in addition to these ways that we use in the free Cozy Spelling course, there's also simply getting into the habit of reading. The more we read things and the more we read things that we enjoy, the more spelling comes to us naturally because we start to get used to the appearance of words. We start to befriend the appearance of words and they become a part of our internal makeup, if you will. They become part of our mental functioning. So, those are some of my ideas about the best way, or I should say, some of the best ways to learn English spelling. So, I hope that that has been a useful answer for you. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me through our website, cozygrammar.com. I'm always happy to follow up on any questions you might have.